So on 9.3 application problems, it says, suppose that $61,000 is invested at 3.5% interest and it's compounded quarterly. So that means it's compounded 4 times a year. You're going to need to know words like that. So if it's compounded monthly, how many times is that going to happen a year? 12, because there's 12 months in a year. If it's compounded semi-annually, that's going to happen twice a year. Those are the main ones. Quarterly, it's going to happen 4 times a year. Semi-annually, twice a year. Monthly, 12 times a year. Sometimes they say daily, which we're not going to be using in this class, but that would be 365 times a year, right? So it says, find the function for the amount to which the investment grows after T years. So that's part A. So there is a formula. A is equal to, which A stands for amount, is equal to the principal times 1 plus the rate divided by N, and N represents the number of times it happens per year, all raised to the number of times it happens per year times the number of years. T is the number of years. So R stood for rate, N stands for the number of times it happens per year, T is the number of years. Principal is what you started out with. Okay, so if you need to jot those things down, you can stop the video and do that. I think after we plug things in, it's going to be kind of clear what you want to plug in for those things. So I'm going to write the formula. So the formula says that we're starting out with $61,000. So when I write my formula, instead of P, I'm going to put 61,000. Okay, and then I've got 1 plus R. And this could be a little bit tricky, but instead of, you don't ever want to put the percent, you want to change your percent to a decimal. So if it's 3.5%, to change that to a decimal, you're going to need to divide by 100 and get 0.035 when you do that. And so our rate is not going to be, I mean, is that those things are the same. 3.5% is 0.035. Just like 80% is 0.80, right? So you just take your percent and divide it by 100 and it'll give it to you in a decimal. That's what you want to put up there for your rate. And since it's compounded quarterly, we're going to divide that by 4 because quarterly would happen 4 times every year. And then it says to raise it to the NT power. Well, N represents the number of times it happens per year and T is the number of years. We don't know what the number of years is. So on your MyMathLab, it simplifies this middle section. So it goes to the calculator and it types in this 1 plus 0.035 divided by 4, and it kind of reduces that part down. So we go there. And we type in 1 plus alpha y equals, we want a fraction, so 0.035 over 4. And it kind of gets this thing all into one number. Figures out that middle part. So 1.00875. So on the for A, what you would type in would be 61,000 times 1.00875 raised to the 4t. Okay, on part B, they ask you, well, what would be the amount of money you would have at 0 years, 4 years, 8 years, and 10 years? And it does ask you to round this to the nearest year. So what I would say is the easiest way, I mean, you could go to your formula and plug in 0 and plug in 4 for T and plug in 8 for T and find all those answers. But we know that the graphing calculator has an easy way for us to do this, right? So if we know that T is supposed to be 0, 4, 8, and 10, and we're supposed to find those values, the easiest thing for us to do would be able to go to our graphing calculator and go to y equals and get those from our table. As we could just type in 61,000, type in 1.00875 raised to the 4, and we're not going to be able to put in a t, but we would use x instead. And then we would look at our table. Well, at 0 years, it's 61,000, right? Which is what it should be, because we haven't, no time has passed it, and that's what we put in. 4 years is 70,124. So this works really well because we don't have to have the amount of cents. It just says round to the nearest dollar. So we would scroll down and get the rest of them, right? We could get our 8 and our 10 that way. So let's go jot those things down. So 0 was 61,000. Four ends up being 70,124. 8 is $80,613, and 10 is 10 years gave us $86,431, which is not bad, you know, for not putting anything else in. You know, that's some pretty good interest. I will tell you that that doesn't usually happen. That's a not normal situation. Anybody have questions about this? Second problem is a little bit easier because it's not asking us to do all of this stuff, but it basically says on Melissa's 6th birthday, she gets a $5,000 CD. That must be nice. She must have a rich grandmama or something that earns 6% interest, and it's compounded semi-annually. What she wants to know is on her 14th birthday, how much money will she have? So we're still using this formula that the amount is going to be the principal times 1 plus the rate divided by the number of times it happens per year, raised to the number of times it happens per year times the number of years. So in this case, our amount that she would have, well, she's starting out with $5,000 from her rich grandmama. I just like saying grandmama. It makes me happy. 1 plus her rate, which is 6%. Well, remember that you always have to, if it's written in percent, you have to change it to a decimal. So you need to divide by 100 and get 0.06 to plug in there. We're going to divide that by the number of times it happens per year. In her situation, it's compounded semi-annually. So we're going to divide by 2. And we're going to raise that to the number of times it happens per year times the number of years it went by. And I almost wrote T. But we need to figure out, well, how many years went by? Really? Undo? Oh, yay. So from 14 to 8, no, 6, her 6th birthday, sorry. 14 minus 6, there were 8 years that went by. So we would say 2, because it's compounded semi-annually, times the number of times this happened per the number of years it happened. Okay. Can your calculator, the graphing calculators can absolutely handle all this at one time. And you're always going to be safer if you just go with that instead of trying to type stuff in and making a mistake. So I would go to my graphic calculator and just try to mimic exactly what I saw there. So I would say, okay, we started out with $6,000. No, $5,000. $5,000, parentheses 1 plus alpha y equals, so I could get my fraction, and she's getting 6% interest. It's happened twice a year. And we can raise that to, it's happening twice a year times the number of years that went by, the 8. And this question does ask you to round this to the nearest cent. So we would go ahead and put the 53, so $8,023.53. $8,023.53.